You're all welcome. You're all welcome. So glad to have you here. So welcome once again to the very first edition of TrendyMum Talks in the year 2021. I'll be right to say you all made this happen and I celebrate you. So here is me clapping for every one of you. And if this is your first time here, I want you to know that you are a special guest. Please make yourself comfortable and feel at home. Please, everybody, let's welcome them with emoji hugs and claps and kisses. Today's session promises to be an absolutely amazing one, and it's going to be loaded. A number of you present today have joined all 6 sessions, or rather all 5 sessions today, making the 6th. So I will begin with this question. In our previous session, were you inspired? Were you informed? Were you encouraged? Please feel free to drop your responses in the chat room. I want to read it. So let's hear you. Thank you, that's encouraging. So you will all agree that when a well is dug to provide water for a village, everyone benefits, including the one that originated the idea. And so I would say this is my experience with the Trendy Mom Talk session. I am full and fat from drinking from its well. It has been exciting and it's still an exciting journey. I feel fulfilled seeing all the women here who believe in supporting each other to do better. My heart is literally bursting with joy to see the number of people that registered and turned up. Thank you for your time. You believe in this dream to help other women thrive in their roles that life has assigned them is the motivation that has kept us going. Thank you for creating us a woman. I know that some of you here are single, some are moms, single moms, some are young wives, some are young mothers, some are empty nesters whose children have all gone to school, some are home managers. I give you thumbs up. While some are young entrepreneurs, accomplished career women, others are caregivers, and others are moms with special needs children. And many others are still on their path to understanding their unique roles in life. Irrespective of the role life has assigned you, I want you to know this profound truth. You are incredibly strong. You have an amazing ability to cope through every situation and every phase life throws at you, especially when you doubt your ability the most. I want you to know that you are highly innovative, you are resilient, and I am proud to call you sister. Yes, Roselyn is proud to call you sister. This community exists to support every one of you thrive, the Trendy Mom community. We want you to take on the role that life has assigned you and very many other women successfully. Our greatest desire is to offer support, encouragement, and assure you that other women have treaded the path and succeeded, and therefore you can. So you can say to yourself, I can. We at the Trendy Mom community want you to keep inspired. And that's why we bring stories of real women to make you laugh, to help you through these life processes that can sometimes get taxing, discouraging, and filled with many reasons to give up and continue with the norms. I do remember a few years ago when the world was normal and we could freely mingle. my friends and I took our kids to an amusement park. We wanted to just make them have fun, but I learned a lesson in there. You see, most of the kids we went with were below 3 years old, and we were like scared. How would they want to take on the rides? Would they want to go on the heights? Especially my son, who wasn't up to 3 then. I feared that he would have a hard time taking those rides, and that he might just be clingy. But to my surprise, he climbed all the rides, even the ones that would take him so high. He was simply unafraid. That gave me, I would wonder what gave him that courage. His sisters. He watched them go to the rides, climb those rides without falling. So he dared to climb. And at the end of the day, they all had fun. The goal of monthly TrendyMum Talks session is to give you that courage today. Dare the things that you are afraid of. For there are women that have gone before you, and they are treading the paths that you dare to tread. So simply piggyback on their experience and glean from them. Absolutely free. At the community, we have gone a step further. We have also built a team of contributors who share their experiences through their writings. They have a strong desire to help many women thrive. The stories shared are often relatable and the lessons are very apt. Once again, our desire is to see as many women as we can reach wear their hearts with joy. We even have plans in this year to incorporate men into our session, so that way you can have a balanced perspective. I hope you are excited and expectant as I am. You know, I always like to say together we can achieve more and be the best version of ourselves. On this note, we begin this year with a topic that firmly reminds us to celebrate the woman or women we are. We all have achieved more than you can care to take credit for. So allow me to end my brief intro with a quote from Marianne Williamson. And it says, "Our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us." We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not save the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that others will not feel insecure around you. We all are meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it is in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give others permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fear, we give others the presence to automatically liberate themselves. And so to guide us further on today's conversation, we have our delectable Ngozi Akinyele. But before I bring her up, let's have some ground rules. First of all participants can see and can hear, however, they are muted. Please make use of the chat room to share all comments and also interact with us. All questions should please be focused on our topic and submitted on the chat room. So join me, welcome Ngozi Akinyele. I will just read her bio before we now proceed. Ngozi is a multifaceted woman. Growing up, her father always told her and her four sisters to beat them boys and girls. And he meant that academically, not physically. Today, she channels that drive and culture of excellence into her roles as a wife, mother, minister, and professional. Ngozi's career coat is one of many colors. She started out as a part-time actor, portrait model, and singer while studying economics at the University of Lagos, Nigeria. She then graduated into a professional career in management consulting firms at KPMG Nigeria. Today, she finds balance in her role as head strategic brand management at Union Bank, where she has helped transform the brand and reposition it for leadership in their chosen market. She is also a speaker and co-host of Girlfriends on Radio, a platform that promotes women's achievement and addresses critical gender-based topics. She and her husband love being role models and chief cheerleader to their two precious daughters. Her definition of a perfect day is a morning prayer run, afternoon in a theme park, and an evening watching movies set in medieval times. Ngozi, you are welcome to TrendyMum Talks. I am so glad that you will inject your energy into us. Let's all put our hands together as we welcome Ngozi. You have the floor. I know I've read your bio, but I know I've not done justice to your person. So please briefly tell us again about who Ngozi is. You always seem to have it all together.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Good evening. It's so wonderful to be here. Happy New Year. I've never been here before. There's always something or the other whenever it's time for TrendyMum. So it's an honor to be here for the first time and also to be speaking here, the very first time. So I'm really, really happy. You read my bio, that's it. So how many have you lived so many years? I feel like, how do you box yourself into your profile? I don't know if I'm the only one who finds it tough writing your profile every time. It just feels like, how do I want to box my life into just how many words? But that's it, that's me in a nutshell. I think the only other thing that, is not reflected there is, my passion for just wanting to live fully and freely and to give as much as I can, So whenever I have the opportunity to speak, it's one more time to share a bit of myself, with that group. And so it's kind of mutual, So when I'm done talking today, I would know I've added X more number of people who have heard me speak and I've poured myself into, because I truly believe that you need to multiply, yourself in the world, So I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, and welcome. So I'll start right away. You have a beautiful family. Daughters, absolutely amazing. Husband, super duper. You have a good job. You have an active social life. You always look pretty, calm, collected. In fact, always in charge of your game. Truth is, I wonder how you do it. So tell us, what is your secret? Where do you draw your inspiration from?
Oh my God. All right. Okay. So, well, first of all, let me say thank you for saying that, even though that I know, okay, some of us are moms, you know how it is, you can just have a battle session in your car and just wait until the AC blows on your face a little and then you come out and then you smile, I think many times the experience is really just like, a swan that's, paddling like crazy underneath and just on the surface gliding, because there are just so many things, to deal with. That is it. In terms of, my secret, will I call it a secret? I would say it is, well, two things. I would say God and family. And I will tell you why I say God is because obviously it's God first, and people say that for different reasons, but I say it because, when someone asks you to, to share a secret about yourself or the way you are, it's not as simple as 1 + 1, because there's no secret behind 1 + 1. 1 is 1 and 1 is 1, and together they're 2. But when someone asks you, how you are, how you came about the way you are, there are a lot of things that go on, and it's only God who sees. You can only guess that, okay, I am this way because, I had this background or I had a boss like this. But there are just so many factors, that go into play in determining and shaping who we are, as people. So fundamentally, I would say that God has been that hand, that has directed, every affair of mine, up until this point. So that's why I say, because I can only guess and say, I'm this way because of XYZ, but it's really just a guess, what I think. And so what I think is also another part of my way you have described me is my family. Like you read in my bio, my father's friends used to call him Abigail. If you're Yoruba, that means you give birth to girls. We were 5 girls for many years before God finally answered their prayers and gave them a boy. But I think, like my mom says, he just felt like my entire life is going to be about these girls and what I make out of them. And so he was very, very militant about, academic success, morality, and that culture of excellence. He would say, beat them boys and girls. And I remember very vividly in my sister's class, I think it was primary 4 or 5, once that I think a particular boy had beat her in the first term and second term. And, one day he just showed up at school at the beginning of the third term. And he said, I'd like to see that boy who has beat you for 2 terms now. And he walked up to him and said, my daughter is going to beat you this term. I'm sure he won't have got away with it in today's world, but he was that militant, and she did beat him that term, of course, not because of that talk, but she was poised to. And I think that's the culture of excellence that I've carried, into my life. I was a well-flogged child. If you do not get good grades, you will be flogged. Like, I was well flogged. We were all well flogged. And today, I would say, fast forward to today, my mom now plays, her own supportive role. She's my pillar. Whenever, I have to get things done, like just a few days ago, I had to attend the funeral, and she knew, and she called me up even before I asked her. She said, I know you have something to do. Can I have your kids? So in many ways, it's family. And of course, I have a husband who was, I would say, groomed for the role. He had he has an elder sister who he stayed with, and she was having kids at the time when he was staying with her. And she made him do all the nasty stuff, like all the nasty stuff. And I think that was sort of preparing him, even though he hated it at the time, but it was preparing him for the role that he plays today. So I would say, in between God's hand of providence and having a family that truly supports me, they give me, the wings I need, to fly.
God and family.
Yeah.
You have clearly spelled out your glass balls.
Indeed.
With all this, you have lots of expectation. Family, of course, your spiritual life, I'm sure you have expectation, your relationship with God, career, friends. At what point do you take a break from all the expectations and actually celebrate you and your wins?
Wow. Okay. Does that point really come? Honestly, does that point come? I think it's progressive. I think it's almost like a daily thing. Today, you can say, for example, you have a child that calls you mommy. And my young, I don't know if everyone who has, a younger daughter, I don't know. It feels like when they're 2, the first is always one way, the second is the other way. It feels like God makes them night and day, like just like that. Like God makes them completely different. My second born, I find, and it's also the case with many people, oh God, you can be looking at her and she will call you mommy, mommy, mommy. Like she's looking at you just like mommy. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to lose it. but I can just say under my breath before I yell at her that, God, I thank you that somebody is calling me mommy. I'm grateful, so I think it's in the little things. I don't see it as, a junction where you say, you've put up your boots and you're celebrating yourself. But I think it's every day. Oh, I'm glad I got out today, and someone passed a comment about, a program they heard me, speak on radio. I celebrate that. Someone saw my child and said, oh, this child did so well in school, so I celebrate that. Someone said, your husband was looking dapper, I celebrate that. Oh, someone says this about me, someone says. So I think it's just, taking the moments, finding the little moments to celebrate, because, at the end of the year, you can say, oh, okay, I did these massive things this year. But sometimes I believe that for women, the things we miss are the everyday joys to celebrate, because you feel like, oh, okay, everything didn't go the way I planned. But, if you tease out the little moments, you can really find those little things that make you smile and remember that, I'm actually doing a good job.
Everyday joys, I like that, and little moments. Oftentimes we expect to have one big accomplishment before we can pause and celebrate. I'll use the word pause because it seems, or rather, life is a never-ending race. When we get to one point, we set another goal for ourselves. In fact, it looks as if it's never enough. We keep pushing and pushing. So I completely agree with you when you say everyday joy, little moments, things that in our own mind, it's insignificant. That's actually where we should take the break and win. You're right on point. So, that people talk about finding themselves in the midst of all the roles we have, being a mother, being a single woman, being in a relationship, being it an entrepreneur, trying to find your foot in a new business. There are so many things people talk about finding themselves. And when they talk about this, I realize that it's their happiness they are seeking for. They are seeking for time. They are seeking for, we like to say, self actualization. And in it all, there's always a lot of me first statements. Like the thing is, it's always me, me, me. So how realistic is it to put me first in every decision, considering that you have so many roles you play as a woman?
It's as okay, let me answer it this way. I believe that every child, every human being, like I read somewhere, is a ray of thought, from the mind of God. I'm Christian, so my references to God, could be quite often, because it's quite foundational for me. God plants our, I would say, our genetic makeup, in a specific way. He builds us up in a specific way. I was talking about my younger child now. She came out that way. And in fact, I actually also remember her being in my tummy, and I found it hard to know when she's asleep. With my first, I could tell she was asleep. This one was always active, and it was like she was jumping, and as she was jumping, she jumped out like that, and she's been jumping. Her name is Zoe because she's so full of full of life. That's why I thought she was going to be a boy. I was so convinced that, oh no, this is a boy. And she was such a girl, so pretty girl. So God makes us in a unique way. Everyone is made in a unique way, and we're made in relation to what we're supposed to do here. That's why I believe in the legitimacy of thinking about yourself and introspecting in finding who you are. For those of us who, and I answer it this way, not to say that it's right to always think about yourself first, but I think that women, especially those who have gone on to be mothers, would often err on the side of defining themselves fundamentally in the eyes of, who they are to others. So defining yourself as a wife, defining yourself as a partner, defining yourself as an employee, a business woman, a mother. But, fundamentally, you are you first.
And I believe in that you are first you, because you are that thought. There was a thought in God's mind, just like how you prepare, Ofe Onuba, and say, there's a thought in my mind, I want to feed these people. Or you prepare a PowerPoint deck. It's a pitch. There's a specific purpose for which you have made it. I believe that that's the level of specificity that God had in his mind when he gave us, our character, our face, our physique, and put us in the families in which he did. So it's legitimate. However, in defining who or finding ourselves, I think it's important to then say, okay, I am this way, but I'm created this way because I was sent to do something here on earth. I write a lot. I use Evernote for those of us who know Evernote, or if you have any note-taking platform, I have it. And after a particular burial that I attended, a funeral service, I decided to write my autobiography. I have a note here, and I said writings, and I said, I want to be able to own the narrative, even when someone is writing. I want to be able to tell people why I did things I did, the institutions I went to. I just felt like that I was being that deliberate, because I felt like I need to start defining myself in terms of what matters to me. But ultimately, what matters to me is what what God is able to do through me to the world around me. So whilst I believe that, think about yourself, but think about what then defines what matters to you, I think is the issue, is the question. What matters to you is important, but then what informs what matters to you? For me, what informs what matters to me is, have I lived fully? Have I lived freely? Have I given all I can? Have I been all I was made to be? And have I done all I was made, all I was made for? That's what informs me. So I try to define myself, because even in that episode, in thinking about my autobiography, I said, asking myself, what do I want to be remembered for? It's me still, but I ask myself, do I want to be remembered as someone who was just a pretty face, or someone who was able to live and impact others? So it's still me, but I've defined my goals, I've defined my aspirations in a way that reflects what I believe is also a calling upon my life. So I think you can't place yourself first all the time, but don't bury yourself too low beneath all the ways that people have defined you. You're here for something. Be deliberate about it. Let that guide your decisions. Let that guide how you make your choices, and even the sacrifices you make, because at the end of the day, of course, there are sacrifices, to be made. That's my long, windy answer to that one. It's a tough question to answer, to be honest. I think it's quite tough.
But you did justice to it. You mentioned defining yourself, what matters. I completely agree with that. In the different roles that we carry, in the different phase of our life, it's important to define what matters. And you also pointed out, we should define it in the light of God. I remember one speaker saying that she's not going to apologize if she's mentioning God, that we can call it Christianity, but I mean, that's the whole source of it, God. So even when we define ourselves, it should be in perspective, or rather in the mold that God has created for that role. So yes, you've said it all. It's not just putting us face, not always putting me first, but always defining what matters. And I like the fact that you said be deliberate. I always sign every mail. The signature, or rather the footnote on my email, is be intentional. It is something I have lived with. Every decision I make, I just want to be intentional. Every day I step out, it's intentional, because you never can tell if that's going to be your last. So anybody you meet, be intentional. So be deliberate about the different places you find yourself. You ended by talking about sacrifices. So I'll just ask, in all this, are there sacrifices you have made? Are there missed opportunities that resulted from your role as being a wife, a mother, or even a corporate executive? So there are like three phases. So one, are there sacrifices you have made or missed opportunities? Do you regret it? And the third part of the question is that, how did you handle it?
My background is in economics, and I don't know, for those of us who, I think everybody did economics, even though I did it at BS level. I think we all did it in secondary school, right? And we remember opportunity costs, right? And scarce resources. That is it's a life lesson. The fact that there are alternative uses to resources already underscores the fact that there would be choices to be made. And once you make a choice, you've essentially sacrificed the alternative choices that you have that you could have made. So definitely, life is all about sacrifice. As you talk about patterning your life out after Christ, if you're a Christian, Christ coming to earth from his jolly life and beautiful pearly gates and all, we will see all of how he is in heaven. Leaving that to come to the earth was a sacrifice. Bowing out with a gruesome death was also a sacrifice. So from beginning to the end of Jesus' life, it was all about sacrifice, So I believe sacrifice is actually a very central part, of life. I have made sacrifices. I wanted to do a full-time MBA in the US, and then Mr. Akinyele came, swept me off my feet, and I had my beautiful children. And hey, it becomes more complex to think about how you want to run a 2-year program, outside the country when you have children. It was like that. In consulting, there were lots of sacrifices to make. I don't know anyone who's familiar with consulting as a word, but you could wake up in Lagos this morning on your bed and end up in Ghana at the end of the day. Yes, there could be a proposal, the person is sick, and then one partner bundles you onto a flight and you're off to Lome, or you are off to, that was consulting. So having kids in that kind of environment, my husband had to be the one who had a more stable job, in the sense that, okay, he had just one boss. Even the fact that you have your boss, in fact, you don't even have one boss in consulting, you have different partners that you can work with, and then you have the client. So at every point in time, if you want to take permission to immunize your child, you tell one partner, you tell one senior, you tell one supervisor, then you tell the client. There are too many people to tell, so you just tell your mother and your husband to just go and deal. And for all those years in consulting, they were the ones, making the sacrifices for me. So definitely on the home front. Today, it has flipped, because now I'm in a more less volatile job, at the bank. I know my seasons. He has now, had times when he's out of town. I'm the one who has, and in a way, it's quite obvious. It's a little bit of a sacrifice, because even though there might be opportunities, I just feel like, okay, in this particular place where I am, I've built equity. Because of course, when you're changing jobs, you have to build up your equity in those new jobs. I've built equity. I'm used to people who are genuinely concerned about my career. So staying in 2 organizations in my career that has spanned for over 10 years, I've just been in 2 organizations, in KPMG and in Union Bank. So along the way, definitely there have been sacrifices on the academic front, on the home front, on the career front. There have been sacrifices, but I think it's an intricate part of life. You basically, in terms of handling it, I think at every point in time you handle for the purpose. Like I said, when I was in consulting and I had a very busy life, my husband had to be the one who was then more on the home front. My sisters, my mom tried to help me make up for it. On the academic front, I had to do an executive program, which would cost more money than the undergrad, rather the postgraduate program. So you just have to realize, I believe you can have it all, but at every point in time, you have to sit down to yourself and tell yourself what's most important. At the time, if I thought about going to school, I couldn't have left my children at a very young age and gone to school. That was a personal choice because of the way I want to raise my girls, So there are sacrifices to be made. And at every point in time, you keep on asking God for wisdom and relying on your power, your power banks. In my own case, is my family.
Relying on your power bank, knowing what's important at each time. Yes, I can relate. I remember when, after my first child, I really, really wanted to travel out to do my master's. And after I've gotten the admission, I realized I was pregnant. Oh, I so beat up myself for a long time. I deferred the admission, but truth be told, I ended up not going. Who would want to leave? For me, I wouldn't want to leave my young baby. I mean, or rather, to leave my baby and travel out, or to take my baby. It was just a decision. I told myself, you know what? Let me give myself a little bit of space, and I will be able to still achieve this. So alternative choices would always be available. So the important thing to know what is important at each point. Yes, you mentioned in answering that question that you mentioned how you handled. I don't think there was any regrets because you didn't mention. So, but
I have a no regrets policy. What's there to regret? We are still around. What's there to regret? It's like a cycle. When I was acting in school today, when I say I find balance, when I was acting in school, I was doing it low key because I didn't want my parents to know that I was, taking up time. I was doing this. I just wanted to be able to do something on my own, my talents and all. I just didn't want to just be about book. But I had lived my entire life just focusing on my books. And, it was just providence. Maybe that's the story for another day, but it was just one thing or the other. I was somewhere, someone said, let's go to record a radio jingle. Just stay with me in the studio. I got there and the person who was in the radio booth wasn't singing the all too well. I said, I can sing this thing now. Got inside, sang it. And then they were like, okay, fine, let's pay you. I think it was like maybe 30K or so. Next thing, the person who was recording an album, a random guy, said, I'm going to be recording my album here the next week. Why don't you come and sing alto? I came. As we're there, a guy from an advertising agency was like, you look nice. I think you can come and do an audition. That was how I was just progressing. And it was just, it was, no, that's the story for another day. But I was just going to balance what I was saying, by letting people know that when it comes to making sacrifices, it is based on your definition of what is important. It's not meant to be prescriptive in any way, just so that, no one feels like, oh, okay, I can't, keep leave a young child and go on a master's program. On the flip side, my older sister, had the same opportunity. Her son wasn't even a year at the time, and she's in the medical line, and she had an opportunity to go to India for a program, and she made a fantastic success out of it. She went for the program. In fact, we even thought that her husband would have her child go to my mom, but he refused. He said, "Well, he's a boy. We won't use the time to bond." They spent that entire year together, and the bond that they developed till today, it's from that year, and she visited only twice. So, he also then made career choices. He left, I think, a full-time job and started running his own thing so that he can manage, being with the boy, and he will take the boy everywhere. So it's based on your definition of what matters. It's not meant to be prescriptive in any way. You can make a success out of an academic program outside the country with a baby if you have the right structure and it's based on your own agreement within your own family.
Right on point. In fact, you have even answered the next question. So there's no need asking. I was going to ask, so how do you create a balance in this decision making? But you have completely addressed that. So it's absolutely based on your structure, on your decision, on what is priority for you. So I would want to ask, as women, we play different roles. We play the role of a mother for some people, other people, caregiver, for some people, employer of labor. And the list is endless. Prior to the pandemic, we were able to set aside time to relax, maybe catch a break, or maybe appreciate how far we have come. I know it doesn't sound as easy as I'm asking, but with the pandemic, it has caught us playing these roles at the same time. You're working from home, you have family to attend to, you have children. In fact, it looks as if the responsibility all converge at one place, for some people, home. So yeah. I'm sure you experienced this. How did you pace yourself? Because it can be suffocating.
I think you should answer this question because as you have listed everything, I would just say ditto for you, and then you've added TrendyMum on top of it. I think it was in the midst of announcing that you were launching book, you were launching. So I think you are the one who should answer this question, because as you have listed out that mashup, you still have space, to be motivating other women. Because I think that is a core inspiration for me. To be honest, I talked about my background with my dad and my husband today, my mom. But as I think about the future, I'm inspired by today's woman. Gone are the days when you just, you relax, you are fat and frumpy because you had, one or two children. You forget about your goals because, you see people who are killing it. They have 4 children, they have a platform, they have a community, they have a thriving job, they have one side hustle that they are doing one fitness thing. It's like, oh my God, it's like it's the era of grace, where like one like we say in my house, Magadabaya grace has been released, for women to do, and they're fun. There are lots of things, opportunities, resources that are available, to tap into, to be everything that you want, to be. So I think that, it's valid when you think about all the things we have to do, but I draw inspiration from the fact that, people are doing it, people are, making giant progress. In my own case, I would say, the practical steps I took after the pandemic, first of all, I think that I was one of those people who were in denial at first. I felt like, oh, okay, let's just be done with this thing for 2 weeks and let's go back to life. But when 2 weeks came and it felt like, this is our reality, I also attend a church where we were praying constantly. And our prayer points also changed, from let's go back to life to let us see the opportunities in this thing. So I now said to myself, okay, if it's about seeing the opportunities, let me now embrace the positivity around this whole thing. So I think the fundamental first step, was just embracing the positivity, embracing the flexibility that comes from it. The fact that now I know what my kids are doing, in school, because I'm still working from home. That's actually one of the things I'm also very grateful for. I'm still working from home till now. So I'm very, very much a part of what my children are doing in school. I'm embracing that as a good thing. My husband also still works from home. So are we all married on this thing? I don't know. Anyway, but well, when you are at home and you are together, things can happen during the day, So there's so many positive sides. So I think it was just, first of all, embracing the positivity around it, spending time with family, being more involved in academics, also converting traffic time, to prayer time or whatever you want to do, So first of all, embracing the positivity around it. And then secondly, I think one of the things we also did was we leveraged everybody in my house. My children will never be the same again. During that period, I made a timetable for them. I still have that timetable, actually, still on the staircase there. We made a timetable and included their chores. My household was not around at the time, so everybody got their hands dirty. I would do laundry, daddy would sweep, children would clean table, wash plates. I will do laundry, they will hang, the younger one will give pegs. We became a tag team. We do our chores together, and that's how our lives have been till today. My nan is not even still back yet. That's how we've done. So I think we just tapped into the fact that we're all here. We cannot come and die. We cannot kill. All of us are going to put our heads together and do everything together. And then finally, I started living a very ordered life. When I mean ordered, I mean I order everything. My mom used to be, the person who will go to the market, who will share a basket of tomatoes. But we started hearing older people are the ones who need to be protected. So everybody said, Mommy, sit at home. Let's go and look for mile 12 orders. So Instagram became our new shopping mart. We found Instagram, person who brings fish, person who brings rice, person who brings abattoir, orishirishi. So everything comes, and I think that's the same way my life is now. So I think just, leveraging the resources around us in terms of adjustments, leveraging ourselves more, our families more, and then finding alternatives to the things that we did before, ordering things, making the most out of it, and
fundamentally just embracing, you know, the positivity around it. Everybody doesn't have the opportunities that you have, no matter how you look at it. So embracing the positive side, I think, is quite fundamental to seeing it in a positive light, if that makes sense.
Somebody says that the one thing this period has taught everybody is to be resilient. As long as you're alive and you have health, you have found new ways of doing things and you have survived in it all. However, for some people, they've still not been able to find their feet. For some people, it feels that they have been left behind. They kind of feel that so much is happening for everybody around them. And it becomes like, would I call it peer pressure? The competition is now outside and they look as if they've lost out. What would you advise them? How should they handle this? How do they find themselves in the midst of all this? So you've ordered yourself, you have resources, you've planned, you have taken practical steps to live ahead of all these things. For some people, they've still not gotten there. They're still struggling. And when they look around and they hear their friends are moving on, they are catching up, they are doing this, they're even achieving more despite the whole pandemic. What would you advise them? How should they handle? How should they handle this?
Attentioning people. Like you like trendy. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. So I think what you said is really valid. I think it's true. It happens to a lot of us. I talked about the inspiration that you are, inspiration that women are, and people take that. People can see one thing, like you say. You remember the analogy of half empty, half full. People see someone succeeding and are inspired. You know, some other people see people succeeding and are depressed. Some are envious. I think fundamentally, in terms of finding yourself or getting through the peer pressure, I think the first thing to ask yourself, I think it's either Socrates or Aristotle that said, to thyself be true. Sit down and ask yourself, you know, am I being pressured to do this thing because it's something I want to do? And this thing it's not theoretical at all. Like these are questions I ask myself when I see someone who's posted something on LinkedIn and all, and I'm like, oh God, this is amazing. I say, okay, is this something I naturally wanted to do, or is this something that has now, quote and unquote, entered my eye because I can see somebody else doing it? Once I skip that step, and if the answer is yes, this is something that you really wanted to do, then I tell myself, okay, gather up yourself, be courageous and be humble. Go and check, like I do, go and check what are the steps the person has taken. If I say, okay, let's say, for example, it's a change of jobs. Somebody has landed this massive job in Netflix, in Google or whatever. I'm like, maybe this is a live example. This is somebody that I knew just 7 years ago, 8 years ago. How he take do am? So I'll go and check. Okay, they did an MBA in this. They did a program in this. I will take my notebook. I'll jot it down. Okay, possible paths to get there. See, peer pressure. I think it comes when I think the first thing is just be humble. That spirit of humility or humility. Tell yourself, okay, so far you have passed that step, or that, okay, this is something I really want to do, not something that is entering your eyes because somebody else is doing it. Sit down and say, okay, this is the path. Okay, now of these 7 steps that the person took, how many am I willing to do? Am I willing to do this? Am I willing to do that? If the answer is okay, not now, then it's fine. Like, just sit down and have, like me, I sit down, my husband tells me, you have said it again, you have said you're doing your me time. I sit down with my notebook, I have conversations with myself. Okay, I'm happy that this person did this, or something has moved inside me that this person did this. But I have now, I've dimensioned what this person has done. And at this point in time in my life, I can't make these sacrifices that this person has made. So
Moving on quickly, I note it down. These are possible paths to get there, and I move on. This is like my practical step. Then for the things that from the beginning, I feel like, okay, these ones are just ojukokoro. I just say, fine, wonderful. Thank you that this person has done this. Great. Moving on quickly. But you always have to tell yourself you have your race to run. And on that race to run, the point is there are sacrifices to be made on that path. Don't be too proud to tell yourself that other people are willing or available to make those sacrifices at this point in time. You may not be available to make those sacrifices. However, you can make them in the future. But don't close yourself to the information. Don't close yourself to the path that they've taken, because for you, it's information. Every path that you see somebody has taken that you could have taken, for you, it's already demonstrating that path to success. So note it down and don't beat yourself up over it, but tell yourself it's a matter of timing. It's a matter of being able to reorganize my life to make these decisions, and then start working actively towards it. Don't get yourself, I think that the other thing about peer pressure is that sometimes we measure ourselves with, where people were at some point in time. And I'll tell you this, and it's something I tell myself. You feel like you're in competition with somebody because at some point in time in life, your paths crossed. So, for example, what's the name of this 22-year-old girl who did the poem, the inauguration poem? I don't feel threatened by her. We have never met before. She's 22. I'm 30-something. I am not jealous. However, if it was my friend in primary school who did that inauguration speech, I'll be here in Nigeria and I'll be drinking the cocoa because I'm like, how am I here and how is she there? But if you didn't meet in life, it's possible that you didn't meet now. So if you met that person, you would have had that self-same emotion. But because you now met, you just feel like you are all together now, so people should be going apart. So it's a reality. Let's just take it like that. Our siblings, our classmates, things happen for them. But the fact that you have met at some point in life doesn't mean that you are now forever mates. No. Immediately somebody resigns from your office, they have their own path. Today you are doing performance appraisals and they are putting, all senior managers, they are putting you all together. Tomorrow he relocates to Canada. His life has started a new path. No more would you be together. Don't kill yourself because now you're in your organization. He's on another path entirely. So the fact that you have momentarily at some point in life come in contact with somebody doesn't then mean that you are forever bound together. Even twins, Jacob had his path. Esau had his path. The fact that you came together momentarily at some point at some phase in life doesn't then mean that forever in heaven and on earth, you are now mates with that person. Run your path, but do not be proud when it's something you legitimately think you can be doing. Note it down, work towards it, and tell yourself if there are sacrifices you need to make, appoint a time to make those sacrifices and chase down that path on your own.
Absolutely, Ngozi. There's nothing to add. I had to go through all this questions because of the different feedback I have gotten from different people, the different questions on people's mind, the how and steps. My friend would say there's nothing like how. When I cannot tell you put 1 + 1 and you have to, I will not say do how. So I'll tell you this is where I took to arrive at this. It might work for you, it might not work for you, but what you have listed is true. To thyself be true. Absolutely. Your race is different. The fact that both of you started out together does not mean you have the same path. In all this, a woman is what we came together to talk about, celebrating the woman within. Tell us your candid thoughts. So we are drawn by so many things. We know that we have different race. We have so much expectation of each other. We don't even take out time to break and celebrate the wins. We are not adequately pacing ourselves. We feel we're in competition with the world and the likes. At what point will you advise that we celebrate the woman within us? Please.
Okay, so when you shared these topics with me, I jumped at this topic of celebrating the woman, because it's something I'm innately passionate about. I don't know why, actually. Like, again, I say, you don't know why things happen, but I just found myself feeling like I've met quite a few women who are just buried underneath the surface of everything they are, including myself. I had to look at the mirror at some point in time and tell myself, Ngozi, how are you defining your life? What were you called here to do? What were you placed here for? So I think it's two or maybe three things that I would say in terms of celebrating. I'll say, first of all, celebrate your person and celebrate your people. So that's your person, your process, and your people. And let me break it down a little. Your person starts from you as a woman. Celebrate the girl that you were within. Remember, you were once a girl, right? Celebrate that girl. I tell myself, I record videos of my children telling me the things they want to be. My younger daughter, the one I told you about, I say, what do you want to be? And I record it because I want to be able to play it for them. When they are making this, that's the benefit that they have, that we didn't have. Because now you can tell them, when you want to find yourself, or look at what you wanted to be on your 5th birthday. This is what you wanted to be on your 6th birthday. And one day she told me, Mommy, why do I have to be one thing? Why are adults one thing? I want to be a gymnast. I want to be an artist. I want to be a teacher. I want to be an actress. And I think she said she wants to be a pilot or something. So I said, no problem. All recorded for you. Celebrate your person. Celebrate that person. Think about it. Ask your parents for pictures. Go home. Who were you before all the clutter of GST 101, came? Who were you? Those things are pointers to the things you need to be celebrating. My dad always wanted us to be in debating society, and it sucked. Like, I really hated it. I wanted to be in Red Cross. I wanted to be in Brownie, where I'll wear uniforms. But left to my dad, there were only 2 clubs, Debating Society and Jet Society. Those were the clubs that were preparing me for the future. Today, I'm so glad I did debating, because there's no crowd I can't stand in front of. And it's because my father made us do debating, and we had to cram and go to different schools and not wear pretty uniforms like the girls in Brownie and Red Cross. But today I can celebrate that. I can look back and celebrate. So celebrate the girls, celebrate your person. Who are you? Who are you innately? And then celebrate the young girls around you. Find a way to record, their own thoughts about their future. Celebrate that person. Celebrate yourself. Celebrate yourself with your words. I have something on my phone I call my oxygen. It's my personal gas. I wrote it down and I tell let me read the beginning. I said I was going to just read the beginning. It says, this is Ngozi. I'm God's second child. I'm a loving wife. No one could ever love their man like I love my husband. I wrote this there because I was going to read it to him one day. I'm a wonderful mother. My children could never have asked for a better one. I'm a giver. I love lifting burdens, of people I care about. I love surprising people with kind gestures. I love that. God gave me a beautiful voice and an attractive face. I'm both captivating and articulate. And when I speak, people listen. And oh boy, I make a whole lot of sense. I go on and on and on. And I gas myself. Yes. I am not narcissistic. I'm not obnoxious. But I think people are very conscious of their flaws and not as conscious of their strengths. So sit down, write your strengths. What are you? What are the things that people say? I've never met anybody, quite like you. I've never met somebody who does things like you. Write it down. See, and me, when it comes to appraisals, I never lack what to write, because whenever someone tells me something on the 17th of October, 1995, Ngozi did this, Ngozi did, I write it down. At the end of the appraisal, that's what I bring together. I write all the wonderful things that my CEO said about me, somebody else, a board member said about the work and about my presentation. So I celebrate all those things. Celebrate yourself with your words. Celebrate your bodies. My husband buys me lingerie, and I feel like I'm just so old school. One day I wore one in front of the mirror, and I looked at it and I was like, the tummy wasn't as flat as how it was before, but at least I still looked okay.
Celebrate your body, celebrate the fact that you have a body, exercise. All of that is part of celebrating who you are. Celebrate your person, invest in your knowledge about yourself. Dieting is not all about losing weight. There are diets for even just boosting your immunity. The second one is celebrating your process, celebrating the fact that we're all figuring things out. I'm here spewing out a lot of things. Some of them I've practiced, most of these things I've practiced because of the nature of this talk. But sometimes there are things that you're also learning and growing in. Celebrate that fact. Celebrate the fact that we're all unlocking the opportunities and the challenges that we face. Celebrate your process. And finally, celebrate the people around you. I tell myself there's nothing, my husband knows, there's nothing I can't do for my mom because she's my pillar. God bless her for me. I celebrate her while she's here. I'm not waiting until, she goes home to be with the Lord before I celebrate her. Celebrate the people around you. Celebrate your team. They're the people who allow you, do the things you want to do. Celebrate your children. Celebrate your husband, celebrate the people around you, and remove those who don't celebrate you from your space as well, those who suck your energy, who you are constantly trying to prove yourself in front of. Please also try and remove yourself from them. So in a nutshell, celebrate your person, celebrate your process, and celebrate your people. So PPP, I try to look for things I will remember myself. So I'll tell myself, Ngozi, be intentional. Celebrate your person, celebrate your process and your people. It's also note to self.
P raised to power 3. I've learned something new. Oxygen. I have to create my own oxygen.
You better. And any day when things go, there are days that things go left at work, and I just go into the bathroom and I read this to myself and I come out and I'm like, all right, let's bring it on. Oxygen injected.
Oxygen injected. So many of us, in fact, not so many of us, all of us need a dose of oxygen. I agree with you. There are some days that you just need to go into the bathroom, inject yourself, and come out. My Igbo friends will say, Odechi, nothing do me. I have. Wow. Thank you for that. I completely agree with celebrating your person. Yes, it is true that we focus a lot on our flaws. We focus a lot on improving weaknesses. I think I read somewhere that actually you should focus a lot on your strengths, because once the little effort you're putting to improve on your strengths brings it out, it maximizes. Unlike when you put effort trying to correct a flaw or weakness, you would put a lot because it's not really your area of strength. So I'll still say it again, oxygen. I'm still going to write down all the pretty things I like about myself. And I'll say that to myself. Yes, celebrate the people around you. A lot of us would not achieve the things that we do if we didn't have the right people. There is a gift of valuable people, not just anybody, valuable people. We have people, you mentioned your mom. You are blessed to have your mom in Lagos. I wish I can bring my mom to, to Lagos. Yeah. But I'm grateful for the valuable people around me. They've made life easy for me. Then the process, it is key. Everybody goes through a process. I like your memory of the debating society and Jet Club. Every girl wanted the fanciful club. Like my daughters today, we talk about ballet, and I'll ask, please, what is ballet to add it? What value is it adding to you than to just dance around this house from morning till night? But I mean, it's just an opportunity for them to keep expressing themselves. So we do not take the processes we go through. We do not take it for granted. Sometimes they are not. I want to point this out. Some processes are not particularly beautiful. Some processes are painful. Some processes are really, really painful. But I have also come to learn that it is in those painful processes that character is developed. Something happened years ago that created confidence in me. I mean, there is no hole you throw me to that I'm not confident, I will come out. As in, I am confident I will come out of the hole. But it's an experience that was very dark that made me, that grew that particular character or attribute in me. So if we don't get anything out from today, I love everybody to remember the 3 Ps, or P raised to power 3. Person, people, process, celebrate. And everybody here should have your own oxygen. It might not be as pretty as Ngozi's own. Not all of us have pretty faces after all.
Yeah. So your oxygen, when I was writing, your oxygen should be as authentic as it's aspirational. Like, it has to be authentic to you. Like, your head can't be telling you, tell yourself the truth now. You are not like this. But you can actually look at the mirror and tell yourself all the wonderful things about yourself. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's absolutely interesting. I do hope we had a beautiful time. So I saw a bit of conversations on the chat room. Okay, Dupe says, you are my friend. Glory says, oxygen, yeah. Akanimo says, people, process, person, people, process. That's good. Someone says, where is my pen? Oh, I need to write my oxygen. Nay, calm down. You have to think this oxygen very well before you write it. And that person said, I might not have a flat tummy, but I have Jesus. It doesn't matter. Celebrate the body. That's the important thing. I'm sure you've gone through a lot. Celebrate the body. Forget the flat tummy. Someone says, hot lesson. Thank you. Yes, so basically just reading out the interactions on the chat room. You can be intentional too. So everyone, okay, do we have questions? I was trying to look out for questions. Okay, so my take, Ngozi, if I would say you should advise any woman struggling with celebrating her person, the process she's been through, and even the people around us, I understand that a lot of people would not even see the people around them as being valuable. It's more like some people feel they are living with the worst kind of people and the likes. So if I would ask you, advise people on the one word you would leave with the trendy mom communities listening to you today on these 3 Ps, what will it be?
I think it will go back to be intentional. It has to be 2 now. Can't say 1, but please, okay, just give me. I think it has to be.
Okay, two words.
I think it's be intentional, and I actually wrote it here. Like, you must say, be intentional about your life. Be intentional. Like, if I were to even expand on celebrating yourself with your words, even celebrate yourself with your silence. Be intentional about moments where you can just go and listen to yourself. There's a lot of intentionality involved in just casting your mind back to even what your aspirations were as a child.
Wow.
Be intentional. Be intentional about your future. Be intentional about your friends. Be intentional about what you say. Be intentional about, being in a community like Trendy Mom, for example. Do you even know the people who are in Trendy Mom? Part of being intentional is even knowing who the people are on this platform and how you're able to connect with them, connect your destinies to them as well. So fine, I don't know whether you have like communities and all, but it's all about being intentional, using your time, using your resources, being intentional about pouring yourself into people. Just be intentional about building your story. Again, part of being intentional for me is writing my autobiography. I want to be able to say the things that they'll just carry, go and print. It's part of being intentional. Nothing is left to chance. It's me and God and intentionality on my part. Yes.
Ngozi, my liver is not yet strong enough to write biography. Let us leave it at we are being intentional. There's something about writing that can be scary. You ask yourself, so have I really done all the things I want to do on this earth and the life?
It's like you be like our father, right? Our father knows the end from the beginning. So I started writing it. I went to this school. I was able to help XYZ number of people. I transferred these skills to them.
And so it pushes me. So this is what you're supposed to get done. Oh. So get on with it. Get on with it. Don't worry, you'll be building the liver as you go on.
Wow, thank you. So Winifred says it is in the painful process that character is developed. This for me hits differently. Kudos.
Yeah.
Gladys says self-love, chai, celebrating myself is key. I have learned a lot. Glory says writing autobiography. Yeah, so self-love. I love chocolate. However it is, I love chocolate. So sometimes when I go to shop for all those plenty cereals, I'll be asking myself, is this how I used to eat cereal when I was a child? When I'm shopping for the cereals, I'll buy the chocolate. And when they're unpacking the bag, I'll tell everybody, please don't touch my chocolate. That's part of self-love. Okay, Heidi says, powerful session. Good to see all your beautiful self. I celebrate myself every second and I'm proud about it. Heidi, I am proud of you too. Dupe says, this has been an amazing time, very insightful. Thank you and God bless. God bless you too, Dupe. Precious says, thank you so much for this. Thank you too. I want to Precious.
My daughter's dentist.
Ah, yes, so she does an amazing job. Not the one that when you come back, your teeth will be shocking.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we've had a fantastic time. Before we wrap up, yesterday when I was checking out how women should celebrate themselves, I entered a site, which is a site for cancer survivors. The stories these women told about their journey, I mean, it's still ringing in my head. One, I would just love to share. So she survived the breast cancer, and she said she didn't talk about the pains, no. She talked about the joy, the support, the family, and she mentioned one thing that kept making me laugh. She said her children always tease her that whenever she wants to smile, her eyes closes. Until tomorrow, she still can't smile with her eyes open. And that's her memory of the process. She had lots of support and help, and she is grateful for her body. That's someone that survived a dreadful disease. So for you out there, you do not have any reason not to celebrate yourself. For you that are still struggling with whether you want to reduce or add, or I don't know whatever is the perfect body size, you should know that is only the living that can reduce, add, and whatever you choose to do. So it's really important that you should accept who you are and celebrate it too. So one more thing, okay. Kofo says, thank you for this session. It's been uplifting, great discussion. Thanks. Yinka says, thanks, Ngozi, for sharing. I mean, we all had an amazing time. Ngozi, thank you for your time. We can't thank you enough. Can you see why I really wanted you to be on this show? You have actually injected us with oxygen.
Thank you.
You have actually injected us in oxygen. You see, everybody now has something. They want to go and write their own oxygen.
Go do it. Just do it, Nike. Just do it.
Thank you so much, everybody. And I dropped a feedback form. Please, we would like to gather your feedback. We want to make the subsequent editions of Trendy Mom really focused on what you want to hear. We want it to make it beneficial. So we have the Trendy Mother handle, but on Facebook and on Instagram, you can join us. You would not only have you not only draw inspiration, you would also know when we have freebies to share. Like I mentioned, the first person to log in has a freebie already. And no, let me not say her name so that there will be no haters. Let's just keep it, let's keep it secret. So we also have a lot of resources on our website. Earlier on when I started on, I mentioned that we have a group of writers that write from their experience. The idea is to share their own story so you can learn from it. So not necessarily, it's for you to learn from the stories. So, and they are very relatable, and these the lessons are usually apt. So I've also put that on our chat box. So thank you everybody for coming. Can we put your videos on, if you may, and let us take a picture. Beautiful face. Smile, everybody. Smile. Yes, we've got that. So thank you so much for coming. We are super grateful. And from the Trendy Mom community, Ngozi, once again, thank you so much. I can't keep talking about the community. Community entails that I don't do this alone. We have other ladies working behind the scene. And the one passion we have is to see you fulfilled as you wear those hats. Don't get weighed down by being a mom, still having a dream of being an entrepreneur, inventing a product, being the singer, being the if you want to be a boxer or whatever thing you have chosen to be. I want you, please don't get overwhelmed. Know that there is support here at the Trendy Mom. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. So as a recap, we also have previous edition on our YouTube channel. So I would also send this to us all. Thank you once again. Have a fantastic weekend. Bye bye. We have come to the end of this edition